Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sequoia Project podcast, the podcast where we talk about everything with business, ups, downs, ins, and outs. My name is Coby, and I'm joined with my co-host Dale. Say hi,
G'day,
Dale.
gang.
Beautiful. Today we're going to be expanding a lot more on what we talked about last week, and just digging a bit more into sort of like the importance on the business side of things, where it's like your thinking, your actual mistakes, all that sort of stuff. It should be good, actually. I'm pretty keen about this. Reading the it's a big thing that you and I have talked about a lot. So
Yeah, I'm glad that you're keen for this because you're 50% of this podcast. So if the energy levels are low from you, I don't know what the listeners are going to think.
yeah,
But
actually, I'm not ready for this. I don't want to do it. Thanks.
no, but we kind of covered last week and the week before more so, why people get into business and how it suits certain people and all that kind of stuff. And we covered a little bit more in depth last week, about what holds people back as well, or even the week before, people getting in their own heads and all that kind of stuff. And last week was more like proof of how we've both come from that, and then also being able to use that and that motivation drive to get into business. So I think today I want to talk more on that. So there's a real nice cadence. If someone listens to this, half an hour episodes back to back, there's a nice cadence to it. So I want to talk about this morning more so, like especially the early side of this episode is like just like how it's okay to think differently, and like just because you don't think like everyone else or you don't have the same ideas as everyone else or whatever it is that's not a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing because I think we get dissuaded a lot. Like people go, you tell someone your idea and they go, that's stupid, or you tell someone a goal or an aspiration you have and they go, that's dumb. So I think that anyone that's ran a successful business to some extent has gone, well, I've had an idea. I think it's a good idea. I'm just going to go for it anyway. So that's where I want to start today. And I think, experience, the first thing I want to say on that, and we'll see how this hits you, Coby, and what your reaction is to this. But I think the thing that people, especially starting business, because we're kind of ramping up to the more intricate things in details into business. We're kind of starting at the start and kind of using it as a launch pad. But I think for people that are getting into business, they think their biggest weakness is that they have no experience. And I thought the same thing. Was it similar for you, man?
Yeah, I think the fact of like not knowing and having no experience, I'm like, well, like no one's going to want someone with no experience sort of situation. So yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think we see that in the Sequoia Project. Like every single person we've spoken to is like, yeah, like I have an idea. I just don't know what I'm doing. I have no experience. I don't know how to execute it. And they see that as a crutch. They see that as a weakness. For me, though, in my experience from being there, it actually ended up being one of the things that made me qualified to get into business. And that might sound weird. It's kind of a weird paradox. I understand. So we'll break it down a little bit. But the idea of this is, if you just listen to this, is feeling like you don't have the experience, or you're feeling unexperienced or unqualified, is actually the thing that makes you the most qualified to get into business. Let me explain. If you are looking to go into a marketplace where people are already doing the kind of service or selling the kind of products that you have the idea for, the best thing you can do to be different to them is how it's done, because there is a demand for things. People need toilet paper. People need cell phones. People need computers, all that kind of stuff. So there are many people in the marketplace doing that. The idea itself could be how the process of that works, and not so much the product itself, or not so much the service itself. Heaps of people do lawn care. Heaps of people do marketing. Heaps of people do, consulting. It's about how it can be done. And in the way that you are unqualified, it means you have a different perspective from the people who have been in business doing it for the longest time. And in 2025, the best thing that you can do, the biggest thing you can do to make yourself different, to make yourself stand out, is to be different. So you are actually as qualified as you'll ever be to be different before you start, because you haven't been persuaded by people in the industry of how you have to do things, or the kinds of ideas you have to have, or what won't work or what will work. You're starting from a blank slate. And I think the reason I wanted to open with that today is because you and I would have spoken about this, but probably 2 years ago. And I haven't been at this stage or looked back at this stage for a while, but I was there 7 years ago. Yeah. And it's kind of, I want to see what how that kind of rings to you now after 2 years of being in business. now you have some experience. What made, like, kind of how it stood out for you going into business being inexperienced?
I think the biggest thing to acknowledge with also being inexperienced is acknowledging the fact that everyone else who's doing that thing started inexperienced as well.
Mm. For
Obviously,
sure.
like, and I think that's the biggest thing that you always said to me was you have to be uncomfortable to grow, and like being inexperienced is an uncomfortable sort of situation there. So anything to start off with, like me being a bit closer there, being inexperienced, whether it was as a photographer, I found that gave me so much more opportunity to be able to be like to grow differently, because you can learn so many different ways, you can learn so many different styles, you can learn all this sort of stuff. If you like, for my situation specifically, starting off as a photographer, not knowing how to do anything, that gave me that opportunity that I can learn different styles of photography. I can go out and
Yeah.
test everything there, and no one has that sort of expectation set of you early on, which I think there's a situation of if you're inexperienced, and some people might not have that trust from that inexperience, but also some people might not have that expectation that they've got from someone that they're paying $30,000 for versus what they're paying maybe $50 for. So that gives you the opportunity to be able to make those mistakes, to be able to develop, and they're probably more likely to be the leniency on you and actually like help you build from it, whatever, or like the feedback or anything like that. I think it gives it just so much more opportunity to be able to properly grow, to take feedback on board, and then to define yourself due to being inexperienced. And that's how I did with like wedding photography, starting off $50, going, or like $500 for the first wedding, and then going out, being more experienced, getting the feedback from that sort of stuff, and then learning my style, and then going out and charging like $3,000 for a day. And then the difference there was from being super inexperienced to having the experience I do now of 2 years.
Yep.
I was able to learn through that time and do it my way. So that's
Yeah.
kind of building on
Yeah.
with you as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the thing for that is, in a way, like you another way to look at it, and like when you were saying that, it was hitting home for me, something that you and I have talked about a lot, and I talk about with a lot of people through the Sequoia Project, is that at every stage in business, you will have something different to offer due to the nature of where your business is at. So, for example, I use this all the time. Everyone wants to start a business. They want it to be a big business because no one gets into business to lose money. Yeah.
No,
So they want to have a big business. They want it to be successful. They want it to be passive. They want freedom, all the stuff we talked about last week and the week before. But I think the biggest thing that they don't realize when you zoom out from that is big businesses have problems that small businesses don't have, and vice versa. So let's say, for example, when you're getting into your photography business, let's say that there's a media giant in town, and they've got 1,000 employees and they do weddings and they do this all the time. There is going to be a level where phone calls are getting missed, customers' accounts aren't being handled well. There's too many people CC'd on the emails. It's not clear enough that the customer's losing communication. And a small business that has one employee or is a sole proprietor, a sole trader, he has all the time in the world just to get that one customer.
Yeah.
So he can answer the phone 24/7. He can be on site in 5 minutes. He can do all these kinds of things. He can tailor it more to their the level that they need, or the kind of consultancy they need that a big business can't do. And that's why big business and small business work so well together. Is you at every stage you have something different to offer your customer.
Yeah, I think a good example of that is currently at the moment with like moving into the marketing side. Like it's just me and one other person, and that gives the opportunity for that you're going to be talking to like the same person every time. So like we've got WhatsApp chats for our clients and they're able to talk directly to us and actually get that response. It's not like it's going through a receptionist first. It's not going through anyone else. It's while we're building the plan, we can talk directly to them. We can actually give them the responses. We can do all that sort of stuff. Whereas maybe a massive media giant, the person that's going to take your first initial call might be different to the person that signs you on, which will be different to the person
be a salesman, and then it's
different to the person that's doing your creatives and that. So with us doing the creatives and the ads and all that sort of stuff, and it's just being one other guy, we're able to be like, all right, well, here's the creatives that we got. And it won't go through this long process of like, well, now it needs to get back to the creative team. It can just go straight back to me. I go, cool, that's great. We'll adjust that creative then. So I think that's a big example of that sort of thing.
For sure. And that happens in every industry. Like, doesn't matter what the industry is. at each stage of business, whether you're a small, medium, or large business, you have a different set of problems, and there is a specific customer that's in the stage that, whatever stage that you're in, that suits that stage better, or
Absolutely.
suits that stage specifically. So, for example, if you've got a customer that has a project that is very, very close to their heart, they are going to desire the service, the product, because everyone's selling the same thing, remember? But they're going to expect that, but they're going to want someone who can handle their account with care and actually give them the time that they need.
Yeah.
Now, a big business might not be able to do that, or vice versa. A small business might not be able to do that. They might not have the tech, they might not have the gear, whatever it is. But there is at every level a customer to suit that level, a customer that wants that kind of experience. And a lot of people think that because they're inexperienced and because they haven't been in business for very long, or they're just starting out or whatever, that the customer's not going to want them. That's false. That's false. If you can focus on the things that the customer needs within your stage of business and find that kind of customer who needs more care than a big business, a customer who's been, let down by the promises of a big business, but they didn't matter. They didn't feel like they were valued to them. You can offer them that service with your experience at that price point. And that's going to help you kind of catapult your business into the future. So it doesn't make you weaker. It doesn't make you less than in the business world. It actually makes you really dangerous.
Yeah.
And it means that you can target a kind of customer. You can go on to, I don't know how many times someone said to me, I don't know what my customers want. I know they want the service. I don't know what the customers want. The first thing that I've said to them is go on to the biggest company that you can find that's selling that thing and go straight to the worst reviews. Go to the 1-star reviews and read every single 1-star review they have. If they have 100 1-star reviews saying they don't return phone calls, when you start your business, just return phone calls. Do it 100% of the time. You will get 100 customers. So it's just a matter of understanding that what you can do, what's within your control as a small business. And when you get into business, it might be as simple as picking up the phone every time. It might be as simple as returning phone calls within 30 minutes. It might be as simple as just turning up on time. It might be as simple as being organized before you turn up. Just that difference means at whatever stage you're in, if you can suit the market, the people who aren't getting that from the people that are providing the service now, you can actually fit yourself into that market with something really simple. So again, that's another kind of, it leads into what we were talking about the last 2 weeks. But if you're sitting there thinking the things that we've been talking about, oh my God, like I don't know how to get into business. There's got to be more than this. I want to start business, but I don't know how. That's why being unqualified actually makes you qualified. You can do it differently. You can look at how the market's already moving, and you can position yourself in such a way that you can give people who aren't getting the experience they should, or the experience you can provide, you can give them that from day one. So that's why it's really important. And a lot of the stuff that Coby and I have both built is driven on that point exclusively.
Yeah, definitely. You're at a point where you can take like literally any way that you kind of want to go with it. So it's insane. Like that's probably the best thing you can have, and what advantage you have over any big business there.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're doing it your own way, if you're going for, and we'll talk, I think we'll break down a little bit more. I think this conversation is leading naturally into like, okay, where do I get the information to know how to do those things? So I think we'll crack into that towards the end of the app. But I think right now it's a really good kind of segue into, if you do something just the way you think it should be done, rather than, reading a book, watching a podcast, listening to someone on YouTube and go, I'll just do it exactly that way. If you do it the way that you think, which is from a different perspective, a different set of experiences, there's 8 billion people on the planet. None of them had the same upbringing, same background, same family, same, none of them are the same. We're all individual. So we all think differently. If you bring that different thought into the business, you're going to make mistakes. We've said it already on this podcast. We'll probably say it 1,000 more times in future episodes, but you're going to fail differently to everyone else. And what that gives you is a different set of lessons to be learned. It gives you a different kind of infrastructure to run your things on, which run your business on, run your processes and procedures and all that kind of stuff, which means that byproduct will inherently be different. So not being afraid to fail, but also understanding that failing differently to everyone else is very important. So being unqualified, making decisions and actually making them based on your own logic rather than whatever information's out there will get you to a different place is basically where we're leading. And we have both ended up in very different places. I mean, we didn't create new industries. We didn't invent the internet or anything like that.
No.
We do things that already exist. We just do them very differently to how they are in the marketplace currently.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's all of the failures and everything that we learned from being inexperienced that's kind of taken the businesses in the different paths as well. I mean, you didn't stay completely in doing like your trash sort of pickup thing, but everything you learned from that's come into every other business. And similar with me with the photography, everything I've learned there's come into what we do now with marketing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I think I don't think we really need to dive into that. Does that sound logical enough, dude? Like I'm saying it
Yeah,
as I'm
100%.
kind of thinking it, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah, I think it comes.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to dive into that.
I was going to say, yeah, I think it goes into our next talking point, which is kind of like the best skills to learn from it. That cost nothing. That's really a big thing off the back end of that, because you've obviously made your mistakes, you've done your things differently, and I think straight away I want to actually ask you, what do you think from doing all that sort of stuff was the biggest skill that you've kind of picked up from doing that?
Yeah, I think at that point, especially because we're talking now, and a lot of these things apply to people who are in business now as well.
Yeah.
They might know a lot of these things, but we might just be touching on some details. But this is a lot for people who are just starting out in business. I think the biggest thing is what are the biggest free skills that made the biggest difference. That's the thing, is because you can pay to learn a lot of stuff, but I mean, geez, some of the stuff out there, you might pay $5,000. You want to go to university, geez, you might tens of thousands. Yeah, you can pay to learn a lot of stuff, but when we're talking about business, we're talking about simple, logical business. So I think that the question is a very critical point. What are the best free things that you could learn in this process that make the biggest difference? And the biggest difference to me is things that impact you personally, because no one else is going to measure, where you're at to where you're getting, week by week or, month to month. So they have to impact you. This is my criteria. They have to impact you personally. They have to impact the world around you, so you can see the two differences as things change. So I would say, actually, we would have gone through this. We would have gone through this years ago. Let's see if you remember these. I have 5 for you off the top of my head.
Oh God.
Okay. And I'll be interested to see if you remember these.
Yeah.
So the first free skills that you can do, you don't need any equipment, you don't need anything, that you can get started on that will make the biggest difference, is first one's organization.
Yep.
Okay. Second one's communication.
Mm-hmm.
Third is problem solving. 4, decision making. And 5, time management. How efficient and how effective you are with your time. I'll break them down real quick so everyone could, they're probably thinking those don't have anything to do with business or whatever it is. But personally and in business, I'll tell you why they're the most important. First, because they're free. Second, if you are unorganized, I don't care if you're selling hamburgers or you're selling stainless steel. No one will want to work with you because they don't know what to expect. They don't know when the phone call is going to ring. They don't know when the product is going to arrive. You have to be organized. Okay. Second, communication. If you cannot communicate with your customer, if you piss someone off every time you call them, if you don't know how to speak, if you don't know how to reach them, where to find them to sell them your product, you do not have a business. Okay. Number 3, problem solving. The only reason anyone buys anything from anyone is because they think it will solve a problem that they have. If they could solve it themselves, they would just fucking do it. So they call someone, they say, can you solve my problem for me? I will pay this much money to have my problem solved. You need to learn how to solve problems, and you need to stop, if you need to stop running away from problems and start solving as many as you can so you can learn this skill as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. Number 4 is decision making. You are now, if you are getting into business, you are now the person that makes all the decisions. Congratulations, you just got a promotion. But if you are scared of making decisions because you might make the wrong one, if you put off making decisions because you can't think quickly enough, then time will pass and you will get left behind. The market will move on. You need to learn how to make decisions. Even if they are bad, you need to be able to make them and move on, because you will learn the quickest. And number 5 is time management. I mentioned efficiency and effectiveness. They sound the same, but they are very different.
Yeah.
Time efficiency is knowing how long a certain thing should take and being able to deliver in that timeline. If you cannot do that, for yourself, you can't go, oh, I need to write this copy for this customer, or I need to write this copy for my own ad, or I'm going to make a flyer to drop in someone's letterbox, or whatever you do. This should take me an hour, and you get it done in an hour. Then you are time efficient. That is 100% effectiveness. The expected time is the time that it took. Fantastic. If it takes you 8 hours, you need to figure out how to be more efficient. You need to figure out processes and systems to go, how can I get this down to a reasonable time so that I can deliver and get things done? Effectiveness is much different. Sounds the same, but it's much different. How much can I get out of my time?
Yep.
Okay. If you spend your whole day doing things that move the lever 1%, it's a waste of a day. You 24 hours, you got 24% to where you need to be. You may as well find something that moves the lever 50% and just do that one thing.
Yep.
Okay. That's the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. Those are the 5 skills. And like, answer this question. If you're listening, answer it for yourself. Coby, answer this question. Name me one person or one business that has ever gotten worse for being better at one of those 5 things.
Not a single one.
You don't get worse from being more organized. You don't get worse from solving more problems. You don't get worse for having better time management. It only gets better. You can measure it within yourself, and you can go, am I as good as am I worse than I was last week, putting these things into place?
Yeah.
The answer will be no. I can guarantee
Absolutely
you,
not.
hands down, it won't. Like you will never come across, oh, I was way more efficient this week, I'm worse off.
Yeah.
Won't happen. You'll get better. The results of that will be that things start to happen quicker. You start to get more momentum. You feel less stuck. You'll see those results. And then in the world around you, people will start to go, geez, Coby's really good at making decisions. I'm going to ask him what he thinks about this. You'll start to see this stuff in the world because it's changing the world around you. If you're very organized, people will be like, hey, can you handle the cake for Dale's birthday? Because they trust you. They're more organized. If you want to make sales, you've got to have trust. How do you get trust? Freest and quickest way is to be more organized. Just simple stuff like that. So those are the 5. Do you even remember we talking about them? I haven't talked about that with you for years at least.
I do remember because one of the biggest things that I had to work on was the communication sort of side of it. And I remember you constantly being like, any idiot can make money. They can talk their way into making money. They can talk it into doing anything, but unless they have the 5 things, they won't be making the money consistently, and they won't be getting to where they want.
Yeah. 100%. So those are the best free skills. If you were going to just go, oh, I just want something to focus on, listen back to that. I mean, we might even put it in the short. The shorts are going pretty well. We might even just put that in a short, something that someone can grab in 10, 15 seconds. Work on those 5 things. You cannot get worse. You will not be a worse person. You will not be a worse business owner. You will not be a worse friend. You won't be a worse son or boyfriend or girlfriend. You won't get worse if you get better at these 5 things.
Everything in your life will be so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So those are the things that I would say. Do you have anything to add to that, dude? Like, I mean, we're talking, but that's what we delivered that. We were talking about that 2 years ago, 2 years in experience. Do you think it's still the same for someone who's just getting ready in a business?
100%. I completely agree with that. I think anything, which personally from my experience, communication is always going to be something that's definitely up there for the highest part, whether because talking to a client, letting them know how something's going to work, making sure they don't have as many questions, make sure if they have questions, it's answered, all that sort of stuff. You want to be as clear as possible so they understand what you do, who you are, why you're doing it, and all that sort of stuff. And then you can do what you need and they won't spend as much time worrying around it. I mean, how many businesses on the reviews do you see, like even online stores and everything like that? They're like, I couldn't get through to customer service. The return system was terrible. Anything like that, trying to actually get anything.
That's all communication.
Communication is always something that I see in every business, that so many people, if they just like focus on that sort of stuff, it'll make a massive difference. I mean, even people bringing like their AI chatbots and all that sort of stuff to try and make sure the communication's better. That's always something that's evolving with it. So
yeah,
I think
for sure.
Personally, for me, communication is a massive part around that.
And I think what you said just there, I want to point out to the listeners, because obviously they're going to hear the words we're saying, but I want them to start thinking differently. This episode's about thinking differently. Yeah. So I want to point something out to them, zoom out a little bit from this conversation. And I would invite anyone that's listening to this, who listens to business stuff, to zoom out a little bit further. Listen to what they're saying, but then kind of think about why they're saying what they're saying. What Coby actually said there, everything he said is 100% correct, but listen to the language that he used. He said, for me, it was communication. All right. Now, these 5 things are going to be a different level for every person. Just depends on who you are and what kind of experience you have. So like someone might be naturally great at communicating. They might be awesome with people, but they might be very unorganized. And when we're talking about leverage, things that you can do, especially time effectiveness, things that you can get the most out of, for Coby, communication on this would have been probably his weakest point, his weakest out of the 5. So by turning that weakness, let's say his communication was at 20%, or so let's say my communication was at 20%. By making that 80%, you have got such a huge return on investment. Opposed to if you're fantastic at organization and organization is 80%, don't go busting your ass trying to make it 85 because you're not going to get the return on investment, the return on your time. Look at the weakest things on here and turn them into the strengths. That's what's going to move the lever the most. So if you are looking at this, I would say a fantastic exercise to do is write these 5 things down and rate yourself honestly. No one's watching. No one's going to be looking over your shoulder. Make sure there's no cameras in your bedroom or wherever you are doing this. No one's looking. Honestly, yeah, you look out there. But make sure that you're answering this like honestly with yourself. Rate these things out of 100%. What would you give them? The only rule that I'm going to put on this: no 2 numbers can be the same.
Yeah.
All right. They have to be different. One has to be, if you're gonna split this down the middle and go, I'm just as bad at organization as I am communication, 25 each. No, has to be 26, 24. Okay. Yeah. So you break it up. Every number has to be different. And then the weakest one is exactly where you should start.
Yeah. I think even just doing one thing a day on your weakest, yeah, 100%. Doing one thing a day on your weakest thing is going to make you grow, because it's if you're doing something that's your top, the area of growth from 80% from the area of growth from like your 20%, it's going to be something completely different. So no matter what, there's more area to grow on something that you're bad at, which again comes back to the experience sort of side. There's more area to grow on something that you don't know or not as good at on that sort of area than there is for what you're already good at and what you already know.
And in terms of measuring something, because we told people on the first day of this podcast that we're super logical, we are super simple, and everything's generated on a result. It's easier to notice the difference personally and in the exterior world moving a needle from 20 to 80 than it is from 80 to 85.
Oh, absolutely.
All right? And I'm not saying don't hone those skills and try and get them as close to 100 as you can. I'm not saying that. I'm saying prioritize your learning. Prioritize where you're spending your time to get the most out of it in the shortest amount of time. So if you have one of these areas, your decision making is terrible, everything else is at 90, just focus on decision making, because in a week, in a month, what the result you're going to see is going to be so huge that you're going to not want to stop developing it. You're not going to want to stop using it, flexing the muscle, getting more experience. So in that time, you will get the most results for the time that you're putting in, which will encourage you to keep going. When people see results, they don't like to slow down. If you went to the gym and just did 10 reps of bench press and you just looked fantastic, you could be in the gym tomorrow.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it for 6 months and you don't see anything, you're going to start going, well, is it always worth all this effort? So start with the lowest number, build that up. Use the experience and the lessons along the way to sharpen your 80s into 85s. And I'm not unrealistic. I don't think either of us are unrealistic and say you have to be 100% of all of these. No, you just have to be consistent. You just have to be consistent. If you get these numbers to 80 or higher, and you can do it, it's sustainable and you can do it every day, you don't need to be at 100% all the time. There will be an opportunity. Someone will come to you and say, hey, I need you to do this thing you've never done before. You'll have some juice in the tank to go, now I can push to 100, not be at 100 and redlining and smacking the rev limiter. You can just go, you've got room to move. So aim for 80 or above. That's fantastic. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be good for the longest period of time.
Yeah. Well, they all tie in with each other. Like even adding an extra 20% to your worst one can add an extra 1% to one of your highest ones because of how much they actually are intertwined. So no matter what you do, you're going to be growing, not just the one you're working on, but everything else around it.
Yeah, 100%. That's a very good point there. I think the last thing here, because we're getting pretty close to the end now. Where are we at on the timer? Couple minutes.
29.
Okay, yeah, cool. All right, so let's try and tie this up into a nice little bow here. I would say the only thing stopping you from raising the numbers on any of these 5 free things that you can do to make your life and your business better, vice versa or either, take whichever one you want, is information. Yeah. So I just want to quickly touch on information and how to use it. If you don't know what you're looking for, then all information is on the table.
Yeah.
All information is too much. I can't do anything with all of the information. So by ranking these 5 things, you have a direction. Direction is very important. If you go, my communication's bad, then you only need to learn things that relate to having better communication. That gives you a target. It gives you a filter. Everything, if you've got 95% organization, you're like, I'm great. I don't miss anything. I'm detail orientated. That's who I am. I don't miss nothing. Don't go looking for information on organization. You don't need it. What you need is organization on communication. How to communicate better. What are my weaknesses? What are my strengths within communication? How do I flip one into the other? How do I make my weaknesses my strengths and then make them all better? That's the information you need. If you are the kind of person that just consumes a ton of content, reads a ton of books, congratulations, you are hungry, you are thirsty, you're chasing something, but chasing something for the sake of chasing something isn't a good use of energy. If you can filter down the information you need and go, I need information on communication. Right now, people say I sound aggressive when I talk. People say I talk too quietly. People don't understand me when I'm trying to explain things. I'm not concise enough. Then you can sharpen in on those things, learn them, and go and practice them, and you'll be better off. If the idea of having a lot of information on your plate already, you're like, I'm already like chock full. I'm listening to 30 different podcasts, all that kind of stuff. Here's my advice. Start to look at information as a staircase. Start to look at business as a staircase. Okay. You cannot get in this hypothetical environment. There are no forklifts, no cranes, no magic machinery that can pick you up and put you somewhere else. There is a staircase that has 50 steps. At the top is everything you've ever wanted. You've wanted, successful business, money, cars, girls, boys, whatever you want. I don't care. It's at the top. Where you are right now is I need to know how to get to the top. You cannot get to step 50 without going up step 1.
Yep.
Okay. So everything else in between at this point in time is useless. It's a nice to have. It's a cool thing to do after hours. It's not your main focus. I know I'm a bad communicator. I know what I need to improve on. You don't need to know how to defer tax through the Cayman Islands right now. Stop listening to stuff like that. Just focus on how do I get better at these things in communication? How can I practice them? That is how you get up step 1. Once you get to step 1, you'll realize there's another thing. There's another thing I need to learn. There's another step I need to go up. What information do I need to do something about this? Once you get that information, ask yourself this question. How can I make this so simple I can do it right now?
Yep.
If you cannot do something about it right now, it is useless. Okay? Because tomorrow will come and the phone will ring and you'll need to pick up the kids from school and it won't happen. If the information is not so simple that you can go, bang, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to try this right now. Make it simpler. Simplify it until it's that easy. You could do it in your sleep and then just do the thing. You will have more experience than you did 10 minutes ago. That's how I filter information. I came up with that. That's my personal system and what I came up with 7 years ago because I was sitting around doing fuck all. Just consuming content, listening to stuff, reading books. That's what I come up with. That's what I taught Coby as well. And mate, I mean, geez, I've been talking for a couple minutes. Shut me up, Coby. But
can you?
What do you? Yeah, can you just take it easy over there, mate? That system. You tell them, does it work? Does it take all that information and make it easier to work with?
Absolutely. And I think it's important not only to just listen to the information that you need, but listen to what people say around you. That's a big thing because you don't know what you don't know. I think that's a big thing to just say there.
Yeah.
If you don't know that your tone's off and someone says your tone's off, that's not them having a go at you. That's information. That's something that you can go, I can use this now.
Yeah.
My tone's off. All right, I'll adjust how I speak. It's as simple as that. It's not taking it as well that my tone's off. Fuck them. They've got a problem with me. I'm not going to change. That's who I am.
Yeah.
It's something like that. And I think that's so important. It's not only just filtering the information that you get online or anything like that. The information that someone tells you, that's just as important as well, especially because that's direct feedback on you. That's experience that they've had on you. That's not just a book being like, well, I did this and that's how I got $1 million. This is the experience they had with you personally. Your tone was shit. Fucking change it. And then they go, yeah, okay, my bad. Yeah, I did sound pretty angry there. Yeah. Like that's 100%. On me.
Yeah, for sure. And the more people that are saying it, like that's what Coby's saying there is 100% right. That's basically in-person Google reviews, in-person business reviews.
Yep.
If you have 10 people telling you that your tone sucks and you always sound angry, if you want to do business, change your tone.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just as simple as that. Listen to the real world feedback.
If your girlfriend tells you about communication, you're going to work on communication. As simple as that. Like it's, that's how shit works.
That's a good range finder. Right. Yeah, and the thing is you have to be mature enough to kind of look internally and ask yourself that question and agree with it. Not everyone's going to like you. I can tell you that right now. Tons of people don't like me, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Everyone's cup of tea. But yeah, exactly right. You just like me because I help you with your business.
Yeah,
Other than that, you hate me. But yeah, if someone gives you feedback, you don't have to take their word for granted. Just go, do I believe that? Can I see where they're coming from? Don't take it so personally. It's not personal. Don't take it so personally.
No.
Just literally ask yourself the question: is there something in that? Is there something I agree with about that? If you look at it logically and you unpack it and keep it black and white, the answers can't be maybe.
No.
It's either yes or it's no. You want to move forward, start asking yourself yes or no questions. But if Coby says, man, Dale, your tone's too harsh. I listen to you on the phone. I listen to you on the podcast. Your tone's too harsh, man. You come across too aggressive, all that kind of stuff. If I look at it and I go, do I agree with that? Do I get too passionate sometimes? If I think the answer is yes, I'll make a decision to change it. If I look at it and I go, well, this is how I want the podcast to be, and I don't want to do it unless it's any other way, then I don't need to change it. No. If Coby doesn't agree with me, we can have a conversation about it, but you need to agree with the feedback you're getting, or not even agree with, but you need to be able to take it on as, okay, it's now my responsibility. I see where they're coming from. It's worth changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you just listen to every bit of feedback you get, you'll have one person tell you you're great and the other person tell you you're shit. What do you do more of? It's very hard.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can take points from both of them and go, I agree with these points and I agree with these points. I'll take them both on board and I'll change accordingly. But yeah, that's a very good point there. And let's get pretty close to signing off with a takeaway.
We're coming in 36 minutes, here, so
I'm going to go first because mine's very simple. Right at the end there, one sentence that I said, this is one of my rules of business, actually rules of life. Just don't take things so personally. It sounds easy to do. It takes a bit of practice, but just realize not everyone has a super personal problem with you. Not everyone knows you enough to even be qualified to be, for you to take their opinion personally. So don't take things so personally. Look at it as data, information, experience, learn from it and move on.
Yeah.
That would be my biggest thing. Don't take things so personally.
All right, shut up. My turn. What I'd say out of the biggest takeaway, honestly, would be bring back to the big five. Focus on what your number one is. It's going to be different for everyone. You're not going to have to do all of them straight away. Focus on what yours is. Listen to what yours is. Understand what yours is. And build from where your worst aspect is. It's going to be different to the person next to you. It's going to be different to the next person in business. Focus on you. Focus on what you've got and focus on what you need to work on and then get information around that. I think it's as simple as that. That's how I'm feeling.
That's great. That's a really good takeaway. Yours was, yeah, no, I get that. I'm kind of pissed that yours was a little bit better than mine.
Yeah, I was
like that one.
waiting
really
for you
good.
to just shut up. I was like, come on, I've got a good one here, man. Like, can you stop talking?
Yeah, no, that's really nice. I like that one. I like that a lot. All right, cool. Let's sign this off. If you like what you hear, and there's more, you want to dig into a deeper link to the website and everything like that, you can learn a bit more about our story and what we do down below. Obviously, the group is there as well. Fairly new product there, so you can go and have a play around with that. Yeah, we're all over. We're going to be all over the socials. Coby's taking care of all the video and audio and stuff for that. So where are we at? We're on. What are we on, Cobes? We're on everything.
Yeah, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, all that sort of stuff. So you can find the podcast now, YouTube, with the video and everything playing. Spotify, we've even got video on Spotify and everything. I don't think we ever mentioned that. I didn't know that Spotify did video until a little bit before we started. So video on both platforms there. Cool. You can leave a review, leave a comment, let us know what you guys want to actually hear us talk about, any things that you're personally struggling with business. We can jump in and make a whole episode about it.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, man. Yeah, if you like it, share it with your friends, tell someone about it, and we'll keep pumping out the conversations, and hopefully you're enjoying them.
Beautiful. We'll see you guys next week on the next episode.
Episode 5. See you then.